Hey guys, hope everyone's doing okay today. See if it's chat there. Yeah, so basically, what we're talking about, what we're talking about is UFOs and UFO stuff, right? So basically, there's a lady on TikTok that's talking about open communication with aliens, right? And what's weird about this is that on top of that is communications with aliens. That's what she's corresponding with. Is that there apparently there's some type of alien recruitment thing that they're talking about right now. Here's the thing: we have apparently alien communication. They want to have alien communication because they want to drive down the miscommunication when these aliens arrive to basically abduct around 12. Well, she doesn't say 12,000 people, right? But there's a out this guy named Elvis, right? There's a prophet that's practically been wrong the whole entire time for 2025 because he mentioned about civil war. He's mentioned about a whole bunch of Lindy stuff. Even September 3rd, I believe, about an alien invasion and stuff. Which that in itself is pretty wild, right? But that being all together, right? You do have initiation of basically she's saying that there's a recruitment center or recruitment a recruitment of basically aliens that are supposed to be dropping by Earth to basically abduct people, right? Because I guess that's what they're doing, right? Now, if you go back to the prophecy Elvis, this guy named Elvis, this apparently he's a time traveler or whatever. He stated that there's going to be a group of aliens that basically are going to abduct about 12,000 individuals off the planet. And when the reason is because they're trying to get away from this alien invasion that's supposed to come to the Earth or onslaught to the Earth, right? And basically, that's the crux of it, right? Which is kind of strange, right? With all everything happening, and what they're saying is pretty wild. I mean, all things considered, right? And then what's weird about this is always like at the end of the year, because if you guys not aware, there was another alien prediction or alien invasion in December 3rd. Uh, Basically the same premise. Like it's always corresponding during these 2 months of I don't know, like a unknowing or uncharting or some information dropping of basically aliens coming to Earth and abducting a crap load of people, which is kind of ironic, right? It's kind of strange how they do that and they don't have initially anything to do with aliens. I don't know, dude. But how she says is that this lady on TikTok, she states that basically uh, they want open communication with they're looking for recruitment people to recruit for open alien contact, and they want to get people, be able to communicate on a regular basis with these aliens, so there's no confusion or a less of a confusion when these guys show up to take a whole bunch of people off the planet prior, and that's basically what she's being downloaded, right? I don't know. I'm like, these guys are aliens and they're technologically advanced. You would think they figured that out as far as how to communicate with us and to get everybody on the same wavelength, right, or understanding, right? Instead of this weird, aka recruitment progress, alien communication. This is kind of trippy, right? With all things considered, and then you got that happening alongside people saying that there's an oncoming alien invasion or alien um, is going to be a mass quantity of people being abducted, right? So you had those two things on the front line, right? And that's not mentioning about Avi Love continuously stating about his talk on news broadcasts about Three Eye Atlas. Now, here's the thing: this comet, he's stated that it is a comet, but what his premise is that the more strange stuff that comes from this comet, the less likely that this could be a comet. That's all. And that's based on our current understanding of what a comet is, or what configuration that a comet should be, right? So on that basis, you have that happening alongside uh basically um what he's been stating, and he's been publishing letters, he's been publishing letters based on how strange this comet really is. Okay, and I've been reading it, and he's not the only one. That's the thing. There's others. All right, so he's a physicist. That's what I'm understanding. He's a physicist from Harvard, right? There's another guy, and I believe he's a nuclear um, engineer. He's also publishing about this Three Eye Atlas, but his theories is a lot more. I was gonna say wacky. Is a lot more extreme, per se. As far as what he believes it is, and I mean, I'm just a TikToker guy, right? I'm just ticky talking my information, and what I've gathered, this thing is high strangers. I still believe it is a comet, but I mean, you can't unrule that this thing is a strange ass comet, considering that it's an interstellar object, right, from deep outer space. On top of it is a interstellar object from deep outer space. It it is traveling faster than any object, any comet ever recorded in history. Any object ever recorded in history. Now, there's an argument to against that, right? It's like, well, the only reason it's the first comet ever recorded in those speeds is because now we have better equipment to measure or to find in our space, basically those objects, right? Those objects, and there's an argument to that, right? So that being said, we definitely have high strangeness with this comet, right? On top of that, it has a huge core, basically primary nickel. They haven't stated what type of nickel. All right, so there's a few types of nickel. I have my own theories on what type of nickel core this thing has. See what I'm saying? So that that is up for speculations, and then on the basis that this has a highly dry ice compository because it has a lot of carbon dioxide spewing out of here, spewing out of it. Um, so there's arguments to state that, or arguments for that, right? So Do this. Cross the street. So, just letting you guys know. Let me see what this one says. Because this one, the reason I have that camera on is because I don't want the camera to be showing this nonsense. But yeah, man, the reason why all this is all gathering together is because there's another astronomer. He's published and he has basically did mathematical equations configuring different stuff astronomy wise. So he has some publications, right? And he was on Coast to Coast recently. He was interviewed, and I think initially what we're understanding is that what he said, which is pretty well, but he believes that well, he states it. He states it. He says that it seems like Avi Loeb is using a old form of comet disposition science or some type of science. I don't know the term he used. I don't remember it. He just stated in the interview on Coast to Coast. But basically, it was disproven in 2015, and then there's a new type of science. And what's blowing his mind is that they're not using the new configuration and new science for these comets. And I believe he did say something about why didn't NASA come out and stated that they're using a certain type of comet what is it called, comet model, a certain comet model that would explain the more the strangeness to this comet, right? So what's interesting in this is that not only is stating that they're explaining, he explains that what's the, but then like what I hate is like, oh, this is totally normal comet, and then he proceeds to say how strange this fucking thing is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is it? Is it strange or is it normal? It can't be both. It can't be both. This can't be. That's just. It's a strange ass comet. It's a strange ass comet. That's just basically what it is. That's basically what it is. A strange ass comet. And you can't get away from that. You can't get away from that, you know? You can stay a whole bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, this thing is fucking strange. It's a strange ass comet. You can't get away from that. As much as they like to argue and try to explain stuff, they cannot get away from this thing being fucking weird. And what I mean is weird is like initially the tail wasn't there, then now the tail is there. Now what Avi Lowe was mentioning is that the tail that it currently has is about a few, quite like about few miles long. The tail is right, which he's saying that the amount of tail that is shown now and the amount of tail that would take to get that kind of tail would take a few months, which is weird because on top of that, it would take a few months. Perihelion, guys, happened just a few weeks ago, and people theorizing, well, that this thing is accelerating, and basically the math proves it. The math proves that this comet is accelerating, and it is accelerated past its perihelion location. If you guys don't know what perihelion is, it's just the closest point to the sun or a orbiting body, and they do their math basically how based on the math how fast it falls towards the floating body in space, and then how fast it falls outside of its orbiting body. So they recalculated the math, they increased the math because initially when they did the prediction, this thing has not only sped up or farther along than its trajectory that they have. They basically lost its tracking, right? So they had to recalibrate based on the observable trajectory. So they had to say, hey, this thing has way more because it's way further along than what it was when we predicted it in in July, based on its mass and its trajectory. It should have been here, but it's way, way, way further. And what I mean about further along, um, they were off about 250 million miles, which sounds like a lot to me, to be honest. Sounds like a lot. You know, I mean, to anybody, like, that sounds like fucking way, you were way the fuck off. Yeah. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, we're definitely keeping that in perspective, right? It's like, okay, that shit is weird. That crap definitely can't be explained off on a normal basis. It just simply can't, you know? And I believe, oh, right over here. There we go. Now I'm just checking out the setting, guys. These settings are pretty unique down here on the Rumble settings. Let's see what else they got here. Images, go here. See that? This is something went wrong. Oh, this is me playing around with the settings, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But yeah, man, what initially comes across this thing is definitely high strangeness, man. If anything, people gotta admit to that and understand that. I mean, we're definitely talking about a comet that is not doing all the characteristics that a comet should be doing. And the good thing is that we're starting to get images in about this comet, so that should help quite a bit. Because right now we're flying blind on what kind of disposition this thing has to comparison to what this thing should be looking like, and that's the nature of the beast, right? We're trying to figure this thing out. We're trying to figure this thing out day in and day out. We're trying to figure this thing out while we're trying to get the math just right to account for its acceleration, right? So I think initially when that happens, we're gonna get a full picture of this object. As far as it being interstellar, and as far as it uh, being one of those situations where not only we understand that this thing is interstellar, but where in interstellar it comes from, and on top of that, not only that we would know where it comes from, it might just be a common configuration of comets in that solar system. That's that could more likely, I feel. Remember, guys, I'm a TikToker creator here, but I feel that this is definitely could this be a common comment from a solar system that inherently has this type of comet design in its solar system, right? And it's unusual over here because it's not that disposition or that configuration is not very common over here. You see what I'm saying? And the amount of matter that's another strange thing with this thing. The amount of matter that this object has is more matter than the observable matter in the universe. Now it goes all the way back. It goes all the way back to what we find in our universe: the math, the science, the discovery, the understanding of comets, the disposition of comets, um, the matter, the amount of matter a comet should or should not have, all comes back to what we have observed and the data we have collected in our little part of the universe, right? So in our part of the universe, there's not a lot of comets compared to certain other locations. There's not a lot of whatever, right? So taking that account, right? Taking that account that we, based on our science of things that we have discovered in our universe, there's definitely room for discovery. There's definitely room as far as the more technologically advanced our satellites become and our um, basically space becomes more clear to us. I'm sure we're going to discover more things, more high strangeness, right? In our observable universe, right? And that just comes with the explanation of what is happening now, as far as what they've been talking about, what they've been arguing about, what inherently what are they've been speculating about. And I think initially is just that, right? We, as human beings here on Earth, we only base our science on what we have discovered and what we can measure right now, right? So it leaves open it leaves an open discussion, or it leaves an um open book to, if we go to another galaxy, or if we go to another universe, or if we go to another planet, we might be subjected or result in basically a new science, a new discovery of science. And the reason why I say that is because all our science, all our discoveries are based on our observable universe here on Earth, around our planet, and around our solar system, and we do our math based on that, right? So when you have an interstellar object not matching none of that math, none of that observable, the amount of matter that this thing has, it puts a wrench in our science, right? And I think that's part of it, right? Is like when you're subjected to a new paradigm of information, you're going to be subjected to basically a whole bunch of anomalies, and that's what this thing is. It's a whole bunch of anomalies, a whole bunch of anomalies on what this thing is, what is this composite about, what um what basically we can see as far as what the hell this thing is, right? And that's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. The reason why I say is because science is all about figuring shit out, right? Science is all about understanding and trying to get down to it. And when we find an anomaly, it's just that anomaly, you know? And then we start putting hypotheses and theories on what that anomaly can explain or what that anomaly entails. And I think that's what Avi Loeb is just doing, right? I mean, yes, he is the anomaly in creation or anomaly factor. He's putting it under intelligent design or aliens or alien ship. He's putting it under that Banfield. So every time there's an anomaly, he adds it on to this this craft or this category, right? Instead of changing the script and saying, okay, it does have anomaly factors to it. but he has his own kind of measuring stick per se, to basically say, okay, the more odd this thing is, the more likely this is could be intelligently designed. Which is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. But when you put that in public matter, people lose their ever forgotten mind. You know. There we go. There we go. My mic died there. I don't know how much you guys caught from the conversation or anything, you know? I find out when I watch it myself. I hate when that happens. I absolutely hate when that happens, you know? But I think at the end of the day, man, we're talking about anomaly. We're talking about speculation on what this thing is or what it is not, you know? This Three Eye Atlas. And personally, we're talking about a factor here of 10. 10 out of 10 is it weird? Yes, it's fucking weird comment. Is it what not another strange is you got all these prophets and sightseers and time travelers all stating about a oncoming alien invasion or oncoming recruitment program, right? This is about the same time that this time is, right? So I definitely think there's definitely some room in here for explanation, right? And I think there's nothing wrong with that, personally. I think at the end of the day, we're all trying to find the answer. We're all trying to find what this is about, what inherently we need to know, and what we need to understand is that we don't know everything, right? And people's like, well, unknown science, there's no way a UFO would do that because it basically it just is impossible. It's not possible. I'm like, okay, so they figured out a cheat code. They don't like when you say that, right? It's like, well, then they figured out a cheat code. They figured out how to do this craft flying anomaly, and they have figured out how to do. Not only have figured out how to do this, they have figured out how to do this in a way or a matter where it cheats physics, right? So that being said, we are definitely in a perspective of trying to get to the upside of this, right? And I think that at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for answers on our known science, and if we on this trajectory of discovering that not only that this thing is normal in a different cosmos, then we can push along and keep going along with that basis, right? So let's just keep that in perspective. We are all inherently trying to find the answer, right? And some people are more aggressive than others, or you can say egos. Some people have bigger egos than others, but I think we're all in the same team here. Yes, we're on in the team. In the team, we got comet believers. We have spaceship believers on this Three Eye Atlas. We have a whole host of stuff that's happening. A whole stuff that's happening with this thing, and then you have Avi Loeb, and I definitely want to publish some more videos on the high strangeness because I think at the end of the day we are talking about what is the cutting edge. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're talking about this comment, and it just adds on to the strangeness of it and what people have been stating about how strange this thing is. And of course, Avilov has put this into this is could be alien tech or alien made, and we're definitely on that field of figuring out if this is alien made, where they come from, why are they using a slow I mean, yes, this thing is going like 130 something miles an hour, but in the big vast of space, that's super crazy slow, right? I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me. Why would they use that current speed or that current uh, uh, basically narrative to get us to space, right? But that being said, that same stuff, like if you look at the disposition of this comic, right, and you start noticing this thing has seemingly not only accelerated, it's accelerating very slowly. Okay, so it's accelerating like every 2 miles per hour. So it's increasing like every I forgot the math. I think it's like 58 miles a day or some crap like that. So daily, it's increasing its speed, right? Not by much, but it's increasing. It's at 137,000 miles now, and the sun has helped it along. Now, images. I think it was a picture, Mexican guy with some equipment. He took a picture of this comet. It has a nice, beautiful tail, right? And initially, initially it didn't have a tail. Now there's an argument. There's an argument to that, right? There's an argument stating that it could possibly be when this thing got close to the sun and it expanded and discharged. That's what we're seeing here is a discharge of a tail because basically with a boiling pot of water or a boiling container, eventually it would pop, right? And this could possibly, instead of it blowing up into a little billion little pieces, it could have just exploded or dispersed from the side of this comet, this tail. So there's speculations on that, right? There's definitely a possibility that this thing has been uh, spitting out uh, material, and that material increased or that chemical because it's been rated that it had a lot of carbon dioxide coming out of this thing. So there's a factor of like dry ice come into play, and Avi Loeb did publish that. Basically, this thing is a huge block of dry ice. Um, he doesn't straight say dry ice, but the disposition of carbon dioxide and other chemicals, it does correlate that this thing has those factors in it, right? And the strangeness is that the inside has a very big nestle of nickel, concentration of nickel, which is weird because it has no traces or any traces of iron. So you guys know iron is like basically really common in our solar system. So, and the reason why I say our solar system is to go back to the same premises that this could just be a common disposition of wherever this thing came from in deep outer space and interstellar space, right? So that leads into that factor that we're talking about a comet that is not from our solar system. So the disposition or the composite of this object is just simply just going to be different. That's just the nature of the beast, right? That this thing is definitely going to be different, and there's an argument for that, just for that, you know. And I don't think anybody can disagree with that. I could be wrong. I mean, of course, there's going to be people arguing here and there about it, but I think at the end of the day, if we're honest with each other, if we're honest with each other, we are definitely in a Banfield here of not only understanding what this thing is, but understanding that we are not the only ones in this universe. So, and what's trippy about that is that we're based on our science and our discoveries, we use matter, and the matter that it's in our universe here could be rare somewhere else. Could be drastically strange and different from another location in our universe, right? And I think when we talk about that and we have discussed that and we have put that in the forefront, we're not. There was a great explanation about this. Great explanation about this. It's like filling your bathtub with water and then taking a sample of it, not finding any fishes in there, and based on that, making a conclusion there's no fish in the oceans. Like if you put it in that perspective, that's pretty wild. I was like, oh man, we're for us to come to a conclusion that there's no life out there is wild. You know, I think it's a lot more common than we initially believe, and I believe that we are talking about aliens, aliens, man. So you guys know, I'm probably gonna try to do this as a regular broadcast. Probably like every other day. So it's gonna be like Tuesday. I know, yes, right now it's Wednesday. So it could be Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays in the morning here to get this cast out. And then Tuesday, Thursday. It depends. It depends. I want to see how this works out. I'm going to do this on a regular basis where we get the information out. We go through subjective videos that I've published, and we go through the back analysis of what conclusions I came to, right? And I think that at the end of the day is, just perspective. That's all this is perspective. Perspective on what this thing is, perspective on what the science is telling us, perspective on storylines and stories, man. Because I do like the stories. I do like the alien abduction stories. I do like that. And hopefully we can get some guests up here because I think at the end of the day, man, we as a community, that's all we want. We want information. That's all we want. We want information to use it to debunk. We want information to add to our evidence factor, our knowledge, and based on that stuff, we conclude some stuff, right? But I think at the end of the day, man, we're just here trying to discover life. All right, guys, you guys take care, man. That's the end of this broadcast. I hope you guys enjoy. Subscribe if you haven't. We're going to do a lot of stuff with the UFO stuff in the UFO community, and hopefully we get into some weird, creative information there where this is going to be out there. I do have a podcast that's going to be all the lives, including the TikTok lives, and hopefully we can collaborate and put all that together. Consistency is key, right, guys? Consistency is key. So, slave agent. Hello. What do you think? The Earth has gone through several crises. That is polar crisis and have passed. in this crisis. The Earth took shape 18 million years ago, and current life erodes. Yeah, I don't have no disagreement with that. Yeah, I believe that precisely, brother. Um, yeah, I agree with you. We do go through what is it called? We do go through fluctuations all day, every day. Nature never stays the same. The only thing that stays the same is change. Change is a constant factor. All right, guys. You guys take care. Thank you for the donations. I appreciate it. You guys have a blessed day.